Good morning, everybody. Our group is Harriet Tubman in Cayuga County. I'm Colvin. We have Danielle Szabo and Dan Welch. So our team, there's just three of us today. Like I said, my name is Colvin. I'm an attorney at Hancock Estabrook in Syracuse. We have Danielle Szabo. She's an economic development specialist at CETA. And we have Dan Welch, who's the associate director of the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Cayuga County. So to talk a little bit about our assignment. Our assignment, as you know, is called Harriet Tubman in Cayuga County. And really what we are here to do today is to tell you about the tours that we've developed. So in speaking with the Cayuga County Office of Tourism, what we learned is that although there are a lot of different publications and a lot of different tours and things that do have to do with Harriet Tubman and the places that were important and special to her life, there was no real one tour just dedicated to such an important person. So as it says here, our task was to develop a tour. It could be a walking tour, an audio tour, a driving tour, maybe a coloring book, maybe an interactive program. And what we were given is a few different target markets that the Office of Tourism let us know usually comes through their doors. Some background. As it says here, you know, Harriet Tubman is an amazing woman who is known and respected and studied worldwide. One of the many roles that the Cayuga County Tourism Office plays is interpreting these assets available in our destination and trying to so that the public can interact.
So the goal of our project from the tourism office is to increase the amount of visitors coming into Cayuga County who want to learn more about Harriet Tubman as the Underground Railroad conductor and what she did during the Civil War as a spy and scout and nurse with the Union Army, and what she did after the war when she chose Auburn as her hometown and where she wanted to raise her family. Each of our tours takes a little different spin to make it attractive to the different target audiences and have a message that will resonate with them. You know, everybody, when they're on vacation or trying to do a tour, has a little different take, something they want to get out of it. So we're hopeful that these tours will resonate with that, our target demographics.
So as Dan and Allie were explaining, we were given three different types of target markets, and the first one being Monica. And Allie will be talking about Monica. The second one is the Clover family, Vanessa and Tom Clover. And then the third target market is Randy and Sue Miller, who I'll be talking about. The whole idea when we were creating these experiences, they will be a continuation or more of an enhancement. Monica will be a more individualized experience where the Clover family will be more family oriented, where Sue and Randy Miller is going to be a fully immersed cultural experience that goes across the whole county. Okay. COVID, as we know, has its challenges. So we did a lot of research, but unfortunately we're not able to tour a lot of the locations on site because of the COVID restrictions. So we did use a mixture of online resources as well as here.
So we're going to start with Monica's tour. This is the tour that I developed. So a little background about Monica. Monica doesn't have any kids. She likes her work, volunteers, and goes to church. She takes pride in her Black history and likes to travel with a purpose. She will use the tour as a way to connect with Harriet Tubman and wants to walk in her footsteps as much as possible. So the way that I developed my tour is I used Google Maps. So this is how it looks, and it's meant to be on your phone. So it's going to be a shareable link, and this is something that you would view on your phone. So this is how it looks to start. As you can see, I've chosen 9 stops, one with an optional stop, which we'll get to a little bit later. But it's mostly focused in downtown Auburn. So the first stop, of course, is the Harriet Tubman National Park, at least the parts that contain her home, the visitor center, and the home for the aged. And we're not going to spend a ton of time on each. I'm just going to click through so that you can kind of get a feel for what it looks like. Not really a stop, but a necessary stop, I guess. What I've explained in the details in here is that right now it would be tough to walk all the way from the Harriet Tubman home to the parking garage. So I'm just explaining to folks how this would probably be the one stop that you do have to drive to, and then from there you'd be able to walk. Next stop is the Equal Rights Heritage Center. As we all know, just a wealth of information, and I thought that it made sense for that, after her home, of course, I thought that made sense for this to be the place that people can get their bearings. They can learn a little bit more about Auburn. They can speak with the folks that work there, get those different pamphlets as well, and then of course, stop for water or whatever you may have to do. Next up for Monica's tour is the Seward House Museum. Right now, I think is actually very well timed because they have a great exhibition right now. It's called Forged in Freedom, the Bond of the Seward Tubman Families. So also in the details that I give, those can be changed, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But as the Office of Tourism may want to change them, they can be changed. The next stop is the Harriet Tubman Memorial Mosaic. It's on the back of the Genesee building. Next stop after that is Freedom Park, and it just explains a little bit about how Freedom Park is just a small pocket park near the police station. Westminster Church, where she was married in 1869. And then the last stop before the optional end is to walk to Fort Hill Cemetery to see where Harriet Tubman's grave is. I made it an optional end to go to the Thompson Memorial AME Zion Church. And the reason being is right now it's under construction and it's not in great shape. But at some point, hopefully this is open and this would be not just an optional end, it would be an actual stop on the tour. So just a little bit about Monica's tour and in the background to it. It's kind of more of a basic tour because it was really created to fill a particular need for the tourism office. And speaking with Courtney Ray Casper, I learned that, like I mentioned, there was just no one, very kind of simple check off each stop on a Harriet Tubman tour, so to speak. I decided that it should be digital because it's going to be easily viewed on your phone, and it's Google Maps, so it's pretty easy to use. I made sure to embed links in there so that you can, if you ever had to click on the website, maybe see what COVID restrictions are like. The addresses are all in there. The other reason I thought it was important to do it is because A, it's easily shareable. So after the tourism office can figure out how they want to do this, it will be as simple as sharing a link that then goes to somebody's phone. And I also thought it was important to do it this way because it's the last bullet there. It's easily manipulated in order to change information. So right now I did put information about if there's COVID restrictions, but of course maybe and hopefully those won't always be there. And lastly, and probably most importantly, to spruce it up. Right now, it is a more basic looking map, but the Office of Tourism would be able to add their own branding to it. So that is Monica's tour.
So, our next tour is for Vanessa and Tom Clover. They are a married couple with 2 children, age 7 and 9. Their primary travel, primarily when they travel, they want to enjoy the outdoors, spend some time together, and possibly when they can, integrate a little bit of history into that experience. And, you know, there's a lot of, in the tourism world, a lot of challenges right now with some of the more traditional historical locations. Colonial Williamsburg, attendance was down even before the pandemic. It's sort of not getting off of being one of those traditional family vacations you take. So now that history piece has to be added into the tour. So what we did here is we built off of what Allie did and made for Monica and made a couple changes. One of which was taking Thompson, Amy, Church off of the tour for now. Again, this is Google based, so once that property is redeveloped, becomes a headquarters and visitor center for the Harriet Tubman National Park here in Auburn, it can easily be added back in. Also took Westminster off there because I know my kids, if I dragged them someplace just to say, oh, Harriet Tubman got married here, and look at that beautiful Tiffany stained glass, be like, Dad, can we go now? So we made a couple of modifications about along that end. From there, what we did was try to identify some family-friendly entertainment and outdoor activities in each direction from Auburn. So if somebody was coming from the south, for example, you'd say you could start your day at Fillmore and Glen State Park, do a little hike on your way up to Auburn, stop by the Port O'Hara Agricultural Museum. They have some good kids activities, get another little historical perspective there, and then do the walking or driving tour of the Harriet Tubman sites in Auburn. Excuse me. If you're coming from the east in the fall, maybe you spend some time at Owens Orchard, pick some apples, take a little hayride, get some pumpkins, and then head on into Auburn or the other way around. And of course, up north, you got the Fairhaven Beach State Park, the Sterling Nature Center, all great stops for kids, and maybe even incorporate a stop into the Erie Canal Heritage Center in Fort Byron. From the west, you've got drive-in, so maybe you do the tour downtown during the day, stop at a restaurant downtown, and then catch a movie at the drive-in. Or coming from that direction, maybe earlier in the day, go to Montezuma, see some birds, take the driving tour there, and then come into downtown Auburn. So there's a lot of options, I think, for families in the community. And one of the challenges we had was getting them all in one slide. But that's, again, where having it Google-based on the map is you can add those in pretty easily. And then have the driving directions between them for folks that aren't from the county. Another activity to get kids involved is the Junior Ranger Program. This is a program in National Park Service where at most national parks, they have a series of activities that kids can do. And they're targeted for different age ranges. So, you know, there's a section, I think, for like 4 to 7, and then 7 to 11, and 12 and up. Just as an example, where after they do the activities, they can send their activity in the National Park Service, and they get back a little Junior Ranger patch. For the Harriet Tubman National Park, they're using the Underground Railroad Junior Ranger activity, which actually is used by several sites throughout the National Park Service. So it's a good way to also connect families to other parts of the story, including the Harriet Tubman Park in Maryland, at her home, or where she was born. And there's a lot of other sites both throughout the South and Northern United States. As I said before, there are a lot of activities that appeal to families and children in Cayuga County. So some of the other ones, you know, need for cooperative extension, I think I could bring them farm ones. So in addition to Owens Orchard, we got Bristol Farms and Lot, Penny's Country Farm out in Union Springs, good place for pumpkins. You know, if you're coming up that way from Fillmore Glen and Moravia area, head to Auburn, take a stop at Tom Thumb, get some lunch, do a little mini golf. And, you know, depending on the family's interest in outdoor activities, you know, they may even want to rent the kayak from Owasko Paddles. So really the idea of this tour is to give families an idea of the range of activities that they can do in Cayuga County. It is created with Google Maps. One of the other additions that could be made, and it was a little tricky doing this and making it clear enough where you could see the stops, but adding in restaurants along those routes, or maybe some ice cream stands, other things that families would be interested in. And then it can also easily be converted, I think I say easily, easily probably by somebody with a little more graphic design experience or skill, into a brochure or a folding map, or even, you know, one of those diner style placemats that might have some coloring activities for the kids too. And that is our Clover family tour.
So Randy and Sue Miller, when we were working with Courtney and Karen from the Office of Tourism, they said this is the primary target market that they're currently seeing come through. Here we go. And Randy and Sue, they're 67, 70 years old. They're retired, they're healthy. They travel throughout the year, 5-6 times a year. They really want to get into the history and culture of the destination and has plenty of time to spend at each stop along the way. And near and dear to my heart, they love shopping, theater, and farm and people. So I had a lot of fun creating a fully immersed experience that would be all-inclusive to the county. And like I said, this is kind of a continuation of what Allie and Demon's tours are. But really, we wanted to capture the whole county and all the activities that are related to the Underground Railroad. So what I've created is the Cayuga County Freedom Trail Stay and Dine experience. It's a 5-day all-inclusive stay and dine across the whole county. Guests will stay overnight in participating inns or hotels of visiting towns. Day activities will include access to historical sites within the visiting towns. And evening activities will include a themed prefix meal at participating eateries. I created this as an example. Full disclosure, the accommodations, the eateries, the events that are listed in here, they have not confirmed participation at all, but I wanted to give a full example of what the Office of Tourism could create if they wanted to create an all-inclusive experience. So Harriet actually has quite the history and relationship to food. Her mother was a cook and her father was an experienced lumberjack that spent a lot of time outdoors navigating the forest. During the Civil War, Harriet worked as a nurse and a spy, but supplemented her income by running an eating house in Beaufort, South Carolina. And she sold the Union soldiers root beer, pie, and gingerbread, which she baked during the night after her day's work. And when she was put to claim for the Civil War pension, her role is described as a nurse. Also, another near and dear thing, she was an avid forager. I love foraging myself. And she was known to forage a lot of sassafras, black cherries, and pawpaw. So our 5 stops will start in Aurora as the first day. Then guests will travel to Auburn, and then up to Weedsport Senate, then up to Fairhaven and the all-inclusive experience would end in Sterling. So each day, guests will be given access, like I said, to day events, which will be around historical events. And then they will transition in the evening to eateries that are participating that will have a set dining experience, as well as evening events, and then the accommodation. So for Aurora, guests will be able to go to the Holland Stone Store Museum, and they will also go to Herman and Hannah Phil's house. They were well-known abolitionists that had helped give refuge to slaves that were coming through. And then in the evening, we, our group, had the experience to go to Jody Baldwin's property, which is the historic Holland House and 19th Century Farm Museum. Here, guests will be able to experience a Civil War themed dinner, and in the evening, be able to experience a movie event on Sidebar. And in the evening, they will stay at one of the sites of Aurora. The second day, guests will travel to Auburn, and they will have full access to the created walking tour from Monica or from the Clovers. And in the evening, they will be invited to go through a lantern guided tour through Fort Hill Cemetery. And dinner would be provided at the Springside Inn, and they would stay also at the Springside Inn. So Weedsport Senate, when I was researching activities, Underground Railroad activities in the county, I was really surprised that this actual area of our county is extremely rich when it comes to the activities around the Underground Railroad. I should probably include Port Barn in there as well. So for this day, guests will be touring around, like I said, that whole range from Port Barn to Weedsport to Senate. And during the day, they will go to William Duval's home in Port Barn. Also the Port Barn Hotel. I don't know if there's a laser here, but it's down here. This was also a very hot spot for Underground Railroad activity. Holland's Island, the Old Erie Canal Heritage Park, and then the Senate Federal Church. How are we doing on time? In the evening, guests will be able to enjoy a farm-to-table dinner experience at a local hoop house located at Horsford Farms over here. And in the evening, guests will be invited to go over to Owens Orchard for an apple pressing demonstration and a hard cider tasting. Guests will then make their way back to Weedsport and stay at the Roadway Inn. On the 4th day, they will travel up to Fairhaven and once again go through a series of events at some of the abolitionist house, William Ingham, and also, Isaac Bell. Their homes that are listed up here, as well as in the evening, enjoy a dinner at Fairhaven Beach, and the night stay would be at the Pleasant Beach Hotel. And they can also experience fly-by-night cooking. The last day, they will wrap up in Sterling, and they will be able to go to the Sterling Heritage Park, where they can experience the Little Red Schoolhouse Museum, Railway Signal Tour, the Raymond Waldorf Exhibit Building, and a restoration of a full authentic railway caboose that was built in 1917. They can also visit William and Martha Kirk's home, which was also known as a safe house for Underground Railroad that housed fugitive slaves. And the Sterling Center, when I was doing the research, this was the original formation of the Sterling area that actually has two former churches that once again were very well known for Underground Railroad activity. So they would be able to tour those as well. Evening dinner would be at Cayuga Winery, which would be a wine paired dinner. And guests would stay a second night at the Pleasant Beach Hotel. So once again, full disclosure, every accommodation, eatery event that's listed on there is just an example of how the Office of Tourism could create an all-inclusive experience for guests. We are really excited in regards to this project that this week is the 38th annual National Travel and Tourism Week. Hashtag Power of Travel. And if you get a chance, please check out the Cayuga County Office of Tourism website. They have a wonderful blog, and they have listed some ways that you can support tourism industry here in Cayuga County this week. May 1st was the launch of the Sweet Trail. So check that out, especially if you have a sweet tooth. And then, go visit one of our many awesome museums in the county. Go out and eat locally, Octane Social House, become an ambassador for the day, tag your photos, be really proud of our county. Treat yourself to a staycation, check out the Office of Tourism website for lodging options. Go visit a park, it's supposed to be beautiful weather. Hopefully this week, no, it's supposed to rain. So go check out a park. And of course, shop local. Last thing I wanted to offer everyone is, once again, food near and dear to my heart in our research. NPR article, there was a recipe for apparently a cornbread that Harriet Tubman used to make. So Ellie and Dan are going to field questions, but I wanted to pass out a piece of cornbread.
Nice. Let's see here.
All right, so we're happy to take questions. But before we do, we did just want to thank again the Cayuga County Office of Tourism. They've been a wonderful partner in this, and we were very excited and happy to work with them, especially Karen, who was the working great ambassador.
Absolutely. Excellent job. Excellent. I know there was clapping from behind the computer screen. We have some comments from Karen. She said, awesome. Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Danielle. And good to use the personal life experience to understand the children's attention span. I'm with that one. Excellent work, Danielle. And I look forward to connecting with all of you further to get information and see what we can put these into practice. Amy Sargent said, great job, well thought out, and use of resources and technology. Can I say, I like the little graphics of the people walking.
Yeah.
Great work, great work. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat right now of our classes. Great job. Oh, just for that.
So for the last one, the fully immersive tour, is that something that we pitched for tours?
So in our conversations with Courtney, they talked about creating an individual experience versus a tour or a guided experience, where if you do create more of a bus tour experience, you kind of keep everyone together, and you kind of build that camaraderie, and you have that full experience. I think you can do it either way, depending on how many times they want to offer it a year. Once again, there would be a lot of alignment of partners and events. So my recommendation would be to offer it twice a year, once in the summer and once in the fall, and have it more of a guided tour bus experience.
All right, if there's no other questions, we'll let you take a seat, relax. We got 5 minutes for the next question.